Hello and welcome to the intro video for the Singing Web Summer Experience 2022. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Larissa. I use they, them pronouns, and my people are from India and Europe. So the Singing Web Experience, which has a focus on playing inside of the continuity between complete potentiality and openness and formlessness and specificity, expression, differentiation, playing, creativity. And inside of that is everything, because everything exists within that context. Everything is emerging from complete potentiality and formlessness and openness. And this presence has a lot of different names: Source, Origin, Holy Mother, Tao. And they're not all the same. There are a lot of different ways that we can talk about this primordial origin, this primordial parentage, this ultimate ancestral quality inside of everything. And really, I don't think we should limit how we talk about it at all. But for me, I find that I don't get super picky about the terms that I use for it. So you'll hear me say things that refer, that are just different flavors of describing the fabric of reality, essentially. And in this experience, we're definitely tuning our attention toward the natural world, which does include absolutely everything, because there is no actual real separation between between ourselves and nature. Even the things that we're producing that are very, very out of sync with supporting a balanced world, that's still nature. We're still naturing. It doesn't ultimately, we're not inventing like a new thing by being humans and, making poor choices. However, there's going to be an encouragement in this experience to really open up to spaces that are less human-centric. So that means, the more that you can immerse yourself in a place that is not so messed with all the time by humans, the better. Although, again, there are ways it doesn't really matter. On some level, it doesn't really matter. But because most of us really need a break from a lot of human-centric ways of being, there's going to be space inside of this container for getting out in spaces where there's a lot more biodiversity, essentially. And it's not just humans kind of squishing everything into the shape that they want and going into spaces where we can be acted upon in a beneficial way by the environment and natural world. One of the reasons why I am drawn to designing this container and offering it, and this is the first time I'm offering something like this, there's a lot of very personal practices that are going into the design of this, and I'm attempting to be able to translate them and offer them as clearly as possible to the people that come. If you've worked with me in other ways, you will definitely be familiar with a lot of what we talk about in this course, but I have never created something with this specific kind of focus where we are really looking at primarily sound and movement as immediate human technologies that seem to just kind of be the best ways to open certain doors into relaxing a sense of a habitual or solidified sense of self. They seem to open doors very quickly and directly into other states of being and consciousness, other ways of thinking and embodying that just seem to be harder to do if you're speaking in like verbal language, or if you are thinking in an analytical way. There's something, the range that's available to us through movement and sound, and the diversity and sensitivity available to us as far as attunement through movement and sound, in my experience, just doesn't, there's nothing quite like it. Even something like drawing, or, there's plenty of wonderful ways to be in creative expression. But playing with sound and movement from a very bottom up way, and also a primordial or liberated sense of those things. Humans have created a lot of different traditions around song, and a lot of different systems and ways of being with movement. And I'm interested in actually going underneath that, going to the bones of those things, going to the roots and origins of those things. Not that there's not really a starting point in that sense, but there is a kind of like opening up that technology completely, saying that we're as far as the expressions themselves, we're not putting really any limitations on it. We are centering ourselves inside of a view, and inside of intention, and inside of context and benefit. We're not just doing whatever we want. But as far as what actually comes out when we make a sound, or when we allow ourselves to be moved, there's no limitation on that. And this is really, really important for another outcome that tends to happen alongside this kind of practice, which is really an unmatched, unparalleled way of being in touch with yourself, and also through the vast self, right? If your body is a portal of portals, and a doorway of doorways, with both like a way to be in communication with yourself as a being, but also with the environment itself, right? Going through yourself into the cosmos, going through yourself into the earth, going through your own sensing into the sensing of all other beings around you. And I don't want to limit how that happens. So it's improvisational. It's very wide open in that way. And this immediacy and this range of possibility for how you can be experiencing and participating in these, basically the call and response of reality, of yourself as a being, and yourself as a being inside an environment, and you as a being in communication with that environment, with your inner environment, also being in communication with an outer environment. There is an endless mirroring and responsiveness that is happening on all layers and all dimensions. So a lot of space and a lot of potential opens up when we do that, which is why I think my favorite way of talking about the fabric of reality, or primordial origin, is to describe it as unfathomable responsiveness. Inside of this kind of practice, we can see how, one, just the intricacies of what it means to be a being on this earthly realm, but also how perfectly we can be met by nature, by reality, by spirit, perfectly met, and how much support is there, and how much choice there can be. But of course, all of this takes practice and training, and So some of what we are doing in this container is just kind of immersing ourselves in some of the practices that help us relax, open, get flexible, and basically have an easier time, basically lubricating these different pathways of potential so that we can traverse them a little easier, and so that we know what to do when we come across stuff that feels complicated or difficult. We come across stuck energy or backlog of grief or disgust or frustration, right? We're in a world right now, a human world that has really just ridiculous amounts of things to deal with, as far as just continuing to kind of like keep on keeping on. I'm filming this soon after the Supreme Court overturn of Roe versus Wade, and there was another mass shooting. I think somebody said like the 236th shooting this year, mass shooting. So no joke, humans are really creating a lot of suffering, and that's still nature. We're still naturing. So when we enter into this container and when we enter into this kind of practice, there might be stuff. There will be stuff. And this is a trauma-informed design space. I have a background in counseling and working with trauma in an embodied way. And so there's a lot we can do about that. And there are other writings and other videos that we've made that go into that in more detail. Something else I want to talk about that I can feel as a component of this container is basically a study in naturalness. Naturalness, which for definitely westernized modern humans, I'm not sure hardly any of us can really grasp how relaxing naturalness is and how far off we are most of the time. I think this is why we love bringing around dogs and cats and babies, or at least I do, because they don't have they haven't made the same contract with the human realm or being alive in the world that we have. And so what I see in myself and other people is two like major patterns. One is that we're constantly holding ourselves as an apology, like it was a mistake that we were born, that having a body and even just being alive and being human, we're constantly apologizing in these subtle ways all the time, in the way that we speak, in the way that we hold ourselves, holding in our farts and our burps and sucking in our stomachs, and constantly like thinking about, not wanting the diseases we have, or wanting to be different shapes, or needing to be dressed certain ways in order to be taken seriously, or for different, and for different people, needing different hairstyles have to be considered in order to not deal with the very strange standard of behavior that we call professionalism and adulthood here, which is really just an incredible, anxiety and creates a lot of discomfort. And then the other thing that I see a lot is false mastery. So an obsession with false mastery, having it all together, mastering your emotions, mastering your thoughts, mastering your energy, mastering time, mastering your life, right? So hyper control based, faking it essentially. Yeah, and in the body, this can look all different ways, right? Like, sticking your chin out, puffing up your chest, holding all your energy in your head or in your shoulders. So what would it actually mean? What would happen if you released demand, which is a prompt I give people inside of sessions and inside of group experiences all the time, is, pretty much always when we come together, we have to take some time to release demand, to recognize all the ways that we are contorting ourselves and holding tension and subtly, sometimes just shaping ourselves and monitoring ourselves. And it's exhausting, and it creates issues. So what would it mean, and what does it even look like to practice naturalness, to melt those demands that you're making on your body and on your time and your energy and your attention? What would that look like? And what would that look like inside of a group? So that is something that we'll be playing with. And, there was a few years ago, there was a period of time where Spirit kept giving me this image of a female wolf and her, and just how she was. I kept feeling myself being directed towards just noticing or sensing and feeling her in her naturalness. So if we're not holding ourselves constantly as an apology or constantly as a false master, if we accept that we don't know everything, and we might not even know much at all, and we're not worried about deserving anything, earning anything, or mastering anything, what's left? What happens? I think what starts to happen there is a timeless kind of innocence. Not much pretense, and enough energy and attention regained by letting go of how much time we spend apologizing or needing to master things or feel like a master of things. What else is there to do other than encounter what's around you, to want to meet your environment, and to do it in a way that also attributes this openness and freedom also to everything that you're encountering. So you're not filling up the space with all your ideas of what you think about the thing that you're encountering, but you're just encountering it. You're coming into that direct exchange. And from there, congruent and attuned expression becomes a free inevitability. It will start to just happen. It will just start to be like a natural rolling out of events. And this is the place that can feel really good. This is the place where, in my own experience, like depression starts to lift, anxiety lifts. There's a very beautiful version of a death practice inside of this practice, because to play in this fresh way, you have to keep essentially free-falling every time you choose to make a sound or allow a movement to happen and roll through you, a trust fall into pure expression. And there's a very undeniable kind of devotional aspect to this, to offer yourself in that way, vulnerably, directly, completely, if possible. And so when we trust fall into that expressiveness, what meets us there? It's the unfathomable responsiveness. We are met by reality itself, and we can feel that happening if we are awake enough and we have enough energy and we're willing. And all of our cravings and fears aren't so much in the mix so that it's hard to feel that happening. So a few things about the design of this container. It starts July 2nd and we end August 13th. So there's a couple weeks in there. But I've designed it so that we can really get a little bit of an immersion and like a feeling of retreat or sanctuary. You'll notice on the schedule that it's 3 hours on a Friday evening and then 3 hours on a Saturday morning. So we get this little bubble of time. Those are the big dips or dives that we do together. And that's just what's needed. Like, we just need that time to not feel like we're like stuffing everything in that we can, get into a little bit of a rhythm together, just enough so that we can benefit from the group field and also not feel too scarce about the time together. And who knows, I'm sure it'll feel like we need more time, but we're working with what we've got. This is also, everyone coming in, I'm considering an artist practitioner. So this is the place to come if you have a specific inquiry, artistic research that you want to do. There's going to be opportunity if the group wants to actually do a show and tell, which could just be within the group itself, or it could be like a thing that you invite friends and family to or something, and actually share recordings or just talk through your experience, maybe share images or dances or things that come in. So artist practitioners are the people that I'm calling into this experience. So we've got the immersive mini retreats on either end, at the beginning and the end of the time together, and then in between we'll have a chance to do small group catalyst work. So this means we'll, depending on how many people are signed up for the experience, we'll come into small groups and get a chance to just really get some focus support around what it is that's coming up for you as you start to encounter basically the things that nature is asking you to shift in order to be able to come into your naturalness, in order to adjust your behaviors, adjust your viewpoints, detox some of culture that you might be bringing in with you that is not gonna be in congruence with actually being able to listen to yourself and the natural world, and to also allow that connection to be expressed through movement and sound. So, again, there's a real legacy of control around movement and sound for humans at this point. Supremacist efforts of all kinds have targeted dance and movement among people across the world. If you look at how much we need dance and movement together in order to feel sane or halfway good, it makes a lot of sense why such an effort would be made to gut the spirit of those things for so many people. If you cut out the thing that helps people regenerate and feel connected and remember their lineages and their histories, holistic histories, then it's much easier to basically take advantage of their fugue state and their overwhelm from losing those things or being denied those things, and essentially like scare them and shuffle them into submission. So there is a real political aspect to this, for sure. And like I said, it's so simple in some ways, but so fraught with all kinds of backlog and issues that people are bringing. So that's why we have the small group catalyst space, to really get into some of that and get some help in that way. So that's in between. And then other than that, there are going to be ongoing recordings and invitations for you to engage on your own, and to sort of be in like a bubble of your artistic inquiry. All right, that's all I've got. Thanks for watching. Please share, and see you in July. Go